Good morning, students. Today we will discuss about the human circulatory system. In that, first we will discuss about the structure of our heart. That is, a structure of our heart. Our heart has 4 chambers. It is divided into 4 chambers. 2 upper chambers are called atria or auricles. Atria or auricles. And the lower chambers are called ventricles. Upper chambers, auricles, lower chambers, ventricles. This side we say that left atria, left ventricle, left atrium, left ventricle, right atrium and right ventricle. Okay, this side is considered as left and this side is considered as right. Okay, the left side is shown by the red color and the right side is shown by the blue color. Okay, why? Because in the left side of the blood, in the left portion of the blood, always oxygenated blood, which we can also say that pure blood, flows, and in the right side deoxygenated, that is impure blood, flows. Okay, now these two sides, left and right, these two sides are separated by a membrane which is called septum. This membrane is called septum. From here to here, this is called septum, and here there is a valve which is called semilunar valves. Semilunar valves. Okay, these valves and septum prevents the mixing of pure and impure, means oxygenated and deoxygenated bloods. Because if these two types of blood, oxygenated and deoxygenated bloods, will get mixed, then a person can die. Okay, now here between the left atrium and left ventricle, left atrium and left ventricle, again there is a valve which is known as atrioventricular valve. Atrioventricular valve. Okay, we also call it dicuspid valve. Dicuspid valve. In the right side, again we have a valve which is also known as atrioventricular valve, and the valve which is present left side is called, dicuspid, which is present in the right side is called tricuspid valve. Tricuspid valve. Okay, I hope this point is clear to everyone. Now, from the left atrium, the left pulmonary veins are coming out, and from the right atrium, right pulmonary veins are coming out. In the same way, from the ventricles, you can see that pulmonary arteries are there. What are these arteries and veins? Arteries and veins are blood vessels. They carry blood from one portion to another inside our body. We have 3 types of blood vessels: arteries, veins and capillaries. Arteries, veins and capillaries. Arteries generally take out the blood away from the heart, means they carry blood from the heart to the other body parts, and veins bring blood into the heart, means from the body parts to the heart. Capillaries serve as channels between arteries and the cells of body and cells of the body and veins. So capillaries are the small channels which serve as a link between arteries, cells and veins. Okay? This was the structure of heart. Now we will discuss the circulation of blood, that how does the blood flows in our body. Now check this diagram. Here, this is our heart, left atrium, left ventricle, right atrium, right ventricle. Okay. Now, from the left atrium or left auricle, the blood enters into the left ventricle. This is the oxygenated blood. I told you that in the left part of the heart, always oxygenated blood flows. Okay. So this oxygenated blood is carried to the left atrium by pulmonary veins. Pulmonary veins bring the oxygenated blood from lungs into the left atrium. From left atrium, this oxygenated blood enters into the left ventricle, and this happens when the heart contracts. Our heart continuously show a rhythmic contraction and relaxation, which we call heartbeat. What is a heartbeat? A rhythmic contraction and relaxation of heart is called heartbeat. One contraction and then one relaxation. Contraction, relaxation. That is one heartbeat. And during the contraction, the blood squeezes out of the heart. So during the contraction, the blood which is oxygenated from atrium, it enters into the left ventricle, and from left ventricle through aorta, it is supplied to the entire body. Aorta is the main artery of the body, and this aorta afterwards divides into arteries. These arteries are further divided into a smaller branch which are called arterioles, and these arterioles are connected with the capillaries. So what we can say? We can say that from left ventricle, blood enters into aorta. From aorta, it enters into the aorta divides into arteries. Arteries are further divided into arterioles, and arterioles are divided into capillaries. These capillaries supply the blood to the cells of the body. Okay. Now from the cells again, what happens? That capillaries, capillaries collect the deoxygenated blood from the cells. That deoxygenated blood from capillaries is supplied to the venules. Some venules merge into the veins, and all the veins then merge into the vena cava. Vena cava, which is the main vein of the body. This vena cava brings the deoxygenated blood into the right atrium. Into the right atrium. From right atrium, this deoxygenated blood sent to the right ventricle, and from right ventricle through the pulmonary artery. Through the pulmonary artery, this deoxygenated blood is supplied to the lungs back, so that it can be made oxygenated again. Means carbon dioxide can be removed and oxygen can be added to the blood again. Again this blood will be supplied to the left portion of the heart, and this cycle goes continue and continue. Now just check that how the return path of the blood from cells, deoxygenated blood is supplied to the capillaries, from capillaries to the venules, from venules to the veins, and from veins to the vena cava, which is the main vein. From vena cava, this blood enters into the right auricle, or we can say right atrium, through the pulmonary artery. I hope now we have understood the path of the blood. Here I have written, this is the path of oxygenated blood, and this is the path of deoxygenated blood. Okay, oxygenated and deoxygenated. Once again we talk about that. From the lungs, blood enters into the left atrium. From left atrium, the blood goes into the left auricle. From left auricle through the aorta, this blood is supplied to the body. How? The aorta is further divided into arteries. Each artery is further divided into arterioles, and each arteriole is further divided into capillaries. Capillaries supply the blood to each and every cell. Each cell, according to its requirement, take out oxygen from the blood and releases carbon dioxide into the blood. Now this deoxygenated blood is collected by other capillaries which are connected with venules. These venules combine in veins. All the veins merge into the vena cava, and that vena cava supplies that deoxygenated blood to the right auricle. From right auricle it goes into the right ventricle, and from right ventricle it is supplied to the lungs back. Now, in one complete circulation, this blood enters twice into the heart, once in the left portion and once into the right portion. Twice. In one complete circulation, blood enters twice into the heart. And that is the reason that our human blood circulatory system is called double circulatory system. Double circulatory system. Because during one complete circulation, blood enters twice into the heart. Alright? Now what is the necessity, what is the need of this double circulatory system? As we have seen that in our body two types of blood flow continuously. One is oxygenated and second is deoxygenated. These oxygenated and deoxygenated bloods flow in our body continuously. To prevent the mixing of these two types of blood, we need double circulatory system, because in this system the oxygenated blood flows into the left portion of the heart and deoxygenated blood flows into the right portion of the heart always and continuously without mixing. Now we have seen that valves are also there between the auricles and ventricles. Dicuspid and tricuspid valves are there. What is the use of these valves? These valves prevent the backflow of the blood. The function of the valves is to prevent the backflow of blood. These valves do not allow the blood to flow back in the reverse direction. Okay, so blood flows always in one direction, and this is very helpful to prevent the mixing of oxygenated and deoxygenated bloods. Right? Now I told you that during one heartbeat there is one contraction and one relaxation. The size of our heart is just like our clenched fist. This is the size and shape of our heart, like this. Okay? Now, this is contraction, relaxation. Contraction, relaxation. So one contraction and one relaxation is called one heartbeat. So the normal heartbeat rate of the human beings is approximate 72 times per minute. Our heart beats 72 times in a minute, and each time it pumps the blood into the body. In each heartbeat, it pumps the blood into the body, and it works continuously. Okay? Now, I told you that we have three types of blood vessels: arteries, veins, and capillaries. Out of these, capillaries serves only as the channels. So there are mainly two types of blood vessels which are connected to the heart: arteries and veins. Now, what are the differences between arteries and veins? First difference: arteries always carry blood away from the heart. They always carry blood away from the heart. Means they take out the blood from the heart and supply it to the different body parts. And veins bring the blood into the heart. Means they collect the blood from the entire body and bring it into the heart. Arteries generally carry oxygenated blood. Generally, not always. Generally they carry oxygenated blood. But pulmonary artery carries deoxygenated blood. Actually, it supplies the deoxygenated blood from the heart to the lungs. Veins generally carry deoxygenated blood but pulmonary vein carries oxygenated blood. Actually, pulmonary vein brings the oxygenated blood from the lungs into the heart. Okay. Third difference you can take as arteries are thick walled. Why they are thick walled? Why they have thick walls? Because in the arteries blood enters with a great pressure. During the contraction of the heart, the blood enters into the arteries from heart. So it has a great pressure, and to tolerate, to withstand with that pressure, the walls of the artery are thick and also elastic. Alright, so these are the differences between arteries and veins. Now we can talk about the blood pressure. What is the meaning of blood pressure? When blood flows into the vessels, it exerts a pressure on the walls of the vessels. This is known as blood pressure. The pressure exerted by the blood on the walls of blood vessels during its flow is known as blood pressure. Now this blood pressure is again of two types. And what are those two types? Systolic pressure and diastolic pressure. Systolic pressure and diastolic pressure. Now what is the meaning of that? So first you have to understand that the contraction of blood is known as systole, and the contraction of heart is known as systole, and relaxation of heart is known as diastole. Okay? Systole and diastole. During the contraction, the pressure which is exerted by the blood is known as systolic pressure, and during the relaxation, the pressure exerted by the blood is known as diastolic pressure. It is known as systolic pressure. We write it always in this form: systolic oblique diastolic pressure. And the normal value of systolic and diastolic pressures are 120 oblique 80, and it is measured in millimeter mercury. Hg means mercury, millimeter mercury, which is a unit to measure the pressure of liquids. Okay, 120 oblique 80. The value of the systolic pressure should be 120 and the diastolic pressure should be 80 millimeter mercury. If the value of blood pressure is higher than these values, it will be known as high blood pressure, and if it is lower, then it will be known as low blood pressure. And both the conditions are critical and that should be prevented. Alright students, it's all for today. Thank you very much.